Hey, welcome back to Video Game Tester 101. My name is Lawrence. I'm the guy that's been in the video game industry for about a decade or so, maybe more. Um, so, one of the questions that I want to address today is very, very common among people is, can you go from QA to development? I'm going to share just my personal experience about that. The short answer is yes. Yes, and I believe that if you really dig around, you may find that it's very common. A lot of companies like to hire from the inside out. Then they like to hire from the inside first. And I've seen it multiple times happen. QA, they have opportunities open, they offer it to QA, QA gets a shot. But so there's like pros and there's cons and there's goods and bads to it. But I want to share some of those experiences just to help encourage those who are curious about it know that yes, this is possible. I worked at SCEA, so Sony Computer Entertainment of America. They made like God of War, and it's just Sony, right? It's just Sony. I worked for them, and I knew a guy that started off as testing. His name was Brent. In fact, some of you may not know this, but Sony had a old video game show. It was like Want to Be a Tester or something like that, and he ended up being one of the judges on it. But he was a really smart guy. He was in QA for like 5 minutes, and then he rose to the ranks really quick. And I don't know what he does now. This is a long time ago. It's like 20 years ago. But I knew that he was out of QA in seconds, and he went up and rose through the ranks, did some other stuff. I know that I worked at SOE. There was an individual where her hard efforts were recognized, and they started having her do developer work after her shift. So she would do QA full time, and then she would go do a few hours of developer work afterwards. So that's one way to rise up as well. So it just depends on the company. It depends on the company. It depends on who you get to know. So this is why networking is really, really important. But I will say that sometimes, depending upon the company, it's really, really hard for you to make it any higher than QA, because the idea is that if you're QA, then it's likely that you're going to be a contract, or you're going to be a temp, right? You're going to be coming in through a temp agency, and you're actually not a part of the company. So that's an obstacle in itself. So the idea is to go from temp to actually full-time employee to be a part of the company. And if you can do that, then you can rise up really, really well. So there's one company that I worked for. I don't know if they still do it, but I'm not going to mention them. If you guys are curious on the company, go ahead and ask, and I'll mention it in the comments. But I'll just avoid it, just for to avoid any drama. But there's a company here in Austin that I did work for, and they had plenty of opportunities for people to rise up. They had plenty, and they put it out to the QA, and they say, "Hey, you guys want to join?" Da, da, da. But they had a restriction that you had to have a bachelor's degree. They wouldn't consider you without a bachelor's degree. No matter how proficient you were, no matter how good you were, right? No matter, because you have to take tests and go through the interview process. You couldn't get your foot in the door unless you had a bachelor's degree. And that's not everybody has bachelor's degrees. So it's one of those things to where, okay, well, rising up with that particular company, I didn't have a bachelor's degree. I still don't. But it's one of those things to where I just wasn't going to make it. And I tried to like talk to them. I tried to compromise. I was like, hey, come on, I've been here for a while. And they're like, no, this is our policy. But a policy could be changed. A policy, it's just like, who makes the policy, right? Like anybody could just change the policy. It's not, I don't know. But they were sticking to their guns on that. So for that particular company, no, if you don't have a bachelor's degree, and then maybe they changed it since then, it's been a while, but at that particular time, no, you could not. So it just depends on the company, depends on where you go. But if you have a passion of making video games, video game QA is a fantastic place to start to get your foot in the door, because even though you don't have the skill set, you definitely are going to be working on the networking skills, and then it's going to be a tremendous advantage. So hopefully that helps you guys understand. Yes, getting into QA does give you an advantage over many other people getting your foot in the door and becoming a developer, a manager, or whatever else. All right, see you next time.